following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MSP North Podcast. We got a great show lined up for you today, and we're going to jump right into it as we talk with Chase Brooks, head coach of the East Robertson football team. Chase, how you doing today?
Great. How y'all doing?
Coach, doing good. It was a pretty interesting week one for you in your head coaching debut at East Robertson, a 44-33 loss to Macon County. I mean, just to start off here, were you expecting 77 points total scored in an opener like that?
No, sir. We kind of pride ourselves on, running the football and playing defense, and, we never want to give up that many points. But, the situation have it, we're playing a lot of young guys, 4 freshmen, 3 sophomores at times. So, with that just kind of comes learning curves. But by the second half, we kind of got it figured out. We only gave up, 2 scores in the second half. One after a returned a 90-yard touchdown. They got called back in a little neutral zone infraction, but we started playing a little better the second half.
Yeah, you guys had a huge gap to fill after the graduation of Taylor Groves, of course, going to Ole Miss, playing some SEC football. How have you guys tried to piece together that gap that he left in terms of production?
We got some great seniors. His little brother, Sean Groves, is going to be a dynamic athlete for us this year. He's kind of picked that role up and, just kind of ran with it. He's great in the locker room, great with the young guys, just trying to teach them, our system and bringing them along. So he's done a great job. And with our other seniors, a kid named Zach Prince, did an excellent job, plays running back, plays little receiver. We kind of move him around. And then the younger Groves kid, Isaiah Groves, is going to be a dynamic running back for, years to come. He's only a sophomore. I think he had, 190-something yards and a touchdown Friday night. So he's going to be exciting to see for the years to come.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the skill players there, Coach. Sean Groves, of course, has offers from Tennessee Tech and Eastern Kentucky. Z Prince on Friday night had 3 touchdowns. And as you mentioned, Isaiah Groves had 192 rushing yards. I know we've talked a little bit about the skill players that you guys have, but I mean, how alleviating is it in your first season to be so deep at the skill positions?
At this level, it just helps you all over the field. Helps us rotate guys on defense, keep guys as fresh as we can. But none of this would be possible without, having these guys that we have up front, our senior offensive line. We had, 4 or 5 guys returning on offensive line. That's just, unheard of. It's been such a big deal for us running the football and giving Isaiah and giving, Z some confidence, hitting the right hole, trying to keep it tight and them believing in those guys blocking for them up front. So, it's really, all due to our offensive line, how great they've kind of picked up everything so quickly.
Coach, you get the opportunity to maybe pick up your first win as a head coach at East Robertson and in your career this Friday whenever you guys traveled to White House Heritage. Whenever you compare that season opening game against Macon County, what do you think you guys need to maybe correct going into that one to come out with a win?
Just little things, that we talked about all, week since we've been able to watch the game film. We had some problems Friday night with our filming system and, our replay didn't work. Our cameras shut off. So when we finally got to watch the film, we got in there with those young guys and, just correcting alignment things, easy things, just run to the football, tackling, wrapping up, getting hats to the ball. We've been preaching that, heavy all week. Heritage is going to be another great opponent. They're very big. They're very physical. They're going to run the football. Coach Brazic does a great job on defense. Going to give you multiple looks. And so it's going to be a challenge this week for us to, kind of get it going again.
You mentioned that film system was down. How did you guys fill in the time while you weren't able to watch film?
Yeah, I feel like you're, coaching back in the 90s with, without kind of replay system or anything to help you. We're just kind of looking on the field, talking to the coaches in the booth. So, it makes you take little things for granted, like those replay systems and how great they are and, how much you can really see and, adjust, once it kind of gets going.
And, Coach, I'm not sure how familiar maybe some of your players are with the upcoming matchup, but, of course, Chad Broderick, the head coach at White House Heritage, used to coach at East Robertson until 2019. Is that something you guys are discussing at all? I mean, is that anything you bring up in preparation this week?
The seniors I think there were eighth graders coming over to work out when he was here coaching at East Robertson. And so most of the guys just kind of barely know him for a little bit. But it's a bigger thing as the town rival, Heritage versus East, being so close to each other and, these kids growing up with each other, it's a bigger deal than, maybe, just head coaches and things like that. It's, about playing, people that you're familiar with and friends and, the kids that, you grew up playing other sports with. So it's really big for our players and, going against, common opponent.
And for you personally, Coach, last one I've got here, you spent a long time as an assistant, Portland, Beach, Riverdale, Smyrna. I think I might be forgetting a few in there, but you got your first game as a head coach out of the way last week. To finally have that one under your belt, how does it feel to maybe get that process completed? And I mean, is it gratifying? What's the process been like going through your first official game as head coach?
Yeah, just a little, relieved, just, the things going into it, everything building up, make sure everything's right. And, the first game, everything that kind of could go wrong kind of went wrong for us. We fumbled the opening kickoff, they get the ball back and, we had some blunders on special teams, just little things like that, but once the nerves got out, we kind of settled in, started playing football. So that makes you feel great as a coach and knowing that these kids are backing you and behind you and they're going to continue to fight for you the whole game. And, these kids never gave up. These players continue to fight the whole time. It could have been easy for these guys just to quit after that opening kickoff. They got the ball back and scored on third and long. They could have just, dropped their head and, given up. But, they continue to fight hard and, fought all the way to the end. We had a chance to win the game at the end. Things just didn't go our way.
As we mentioned, East Robertson will face White House Heritage on Friday in the second game of the season. Coach Brooks, thank you so much for your time and best of luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chase. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're coming back up to Clarksville, heading over to West Creek when we're going to talk to West Creek Coyotes head football coach, Rob Gallowicz. Stay tuned.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the MSP North Podcast. We got a brand new guest for you today, first-year head coach at West Creek football team, Rob Gallowicz. Rob, welcome into the show, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
So you guys took probably the most unique and probably the scariest way to lose a football game on Friday night against Northeast. In the West Creek parking lot outside the football game, toward the end of the third quarter, a couple shots were fired outside the football game. Thankfully, nobody was injured, and the suspects have actually been detained. So overall, kind of could have been a much worse situation. But as things were unfolding, what was kind of the response from you and your coaching staff?
I think we were just reacting to kind of everything that was going on. We kind of heard over the headset, and we were kind of reacting to what we were seeing across the way from Northeast. And so the biggest, thing on our mind was just making sure that we were getting our guys safe and putting them in a position where, they're out of harm's way. So that was kind of the biggest focus for us. We were just kind of reacting and just following instructions from what we were hearing from the loudspeaker.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you guys have been checking up with your players because especially for young guys during their football game, that can be a really scary, potentially traumatic situation. But of course, knowing people weren't injured during it, I imagine that probably makes things a little better. But what have you been gathering from checking up on your guys ever since then?
Yeah, I think the initial kind of, directly after the event, once we got them back to the locker room, I think a lot of guys were shaken up. We saw our seniors on Saturday. One of the coaches was hosting like a pool party for the seniors, and they seemed in good spirits, and they seemed fine. We did open up communication lines for our players to reach out if they felt the need. But for the most part, I think they were kind of ready to get back on Monday for some normalcy. We just went right back into practice. The school did a good job of just having people available for the kids if they needed to talk to somebody, or if they needed just to speak to a counselor or whatever it may have been.
Coach, there's a lot to prepare for in your very first game as a head coach, as is. But in a situation like that, whenever you've got not only one team in West Creek with a first-year head coach, but Northeast as well, I mean, how did that alter into the response that you guys needed to do? I mean, reacting on your feet and evidently reacting in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, I just there's no way to prepare for that. I mean, I don't know if there's ever a way that you can prepare for that, just because it's so unexpected. We were more prepared for their counter run game and kind of trying to stop the back that they had that's pretty good, and their quarterback, and we're not really preparing for to take cover on the football field. So I think being a first year, being a 10-year vet or whatever it may be, I don't know if there's ever an opportunity to really prepare for that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the game itself before things were brought to an end. So you guys had a lead there in the second quarter after a scoreless first quarter for both teams before eventually losing there. Of course, had a chance to potentially come back before the game was ended. But what did you see from your guys in your first game as head coach over there at West Creek?
I really like how they battled. I think in years past, when you watch a West Creek team, you would see a team get up by a score or two, and then their heads would drop. You would see them kind of bow out of the game. I think these guys really just kept taking it to Northeast. They kept, laying it out there, and they were battling. And I think a lot of people saw that too. I had some coaching friends here and some people in the community that kind of keep up with high school sports, and that was one of the biggest compliments they gave to this team was they continued to battle regardless of the score. They were out there executing their blocks and making their tackles, and we just kind of came up short.
Coach, you guys face off against Northwest this Friday. How do you kind of take, albeit a shortened first game, but how do you take those positives that you mentioned, kind of not giving up against the Northeast team, and apply it to this Friday against Northwest?
I think the biggest thing is we made a lot of penalties. We shot ourselves in the foot quite a bit. And I think that's kind of what we need to do moving forward is clean up some of those penalties. I believe there were 17 flags thrown in that game between both teams. And so we're really trying to eliminate we call it, some of those dumb penalties that are not really effort penalties to kind of clean up going into Northwest. And then just fine tuning some things that we, just like any first game, there's going to be things that you did really, really well, and there's going to be things that you didn't do well. And so just kind of cleaning up some of the mistakes on the offensive line and in the secondary and kind of going from there.
Yeah, you were an assistant with West Creek last year when you guys beat Northwest pretty handily. But Northwest beat Stewart County 35-0 last week.
Yeah.
So clearly two programs who have gotten better this season. What have you seen so far about Northwest, and what are you guys looking to do in that game?
Coach Pena does a really good job over there. And so I'm definitely looking for a competitive battle. A lot of times, when you beat teams pretty good the year before, a lot of the kids, already think like, well, this is in the bag. And with a team, that's really coached well, like Northwest, you can't prepare like that. You have to prepare just like we did for Northeast, just like we'll prepare for anybody else. I mean, that team is definitely a lot better. You can tell that they're getting coached up really well. So we're definitely going to have kind of our hands full this week.
Whenever you look at Northwest a little bit, just based on what I've read, quarterback play is definitely up, I think, with Raymond Rodart, and then, Bobby DeMyers is a threat at receiver as well. Whenever you look at your team, what weapons do you have to counter that? And going into Friday, where do you think your biggest strength is?
I definitely think our biggest strength is on the defensive line. I think we pressured Northeast quite a bit last week. That's what kept us. It kind of helped the secondary because we were forcing the quarterback just to get rid of it pretty quickly and make some inaccurate throws, in my opinion. And then, against Northwest, the same thing. We're going to have to apply pressure just to kind of help our secondary out. But we've got a lot of track guys on the back end of our defense that's going to kind of help out and then hopefully kind of slow the run. And then, I think on the offensive side of the ball, we've just got to eliminate the penalties and kind of continue to move.
Absolutely. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. Best of luck on Friday as you guys go against Northwest in a game that will hopefully be just all about football and nothing else going on. All right. Well,
appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Rob. Have a good one, man. So that was Rob Gallowicz, head coach of the West Creek football team. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, our One Thing segment, our Player of the Week, and our Game of the Week.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
And welcome back to the MSP North Podcast. We're going to go the last 10 minutes here. One thing, Player of the Week, Game of the Week. We've got some pretty good stuff from week 1 and week 2, in my opinion. A lot of interesting stuff happening in our respective counties. Brady, what do you got?
Yeah, so I want to start off by talking about the Rossview girls soccer team. They have been blowing teams out lately. Of course, the first game they beat Springfield 9-0. A Springfield team that really doesn't even look like it's too bad this year. Of course, losing Molly Smith is a big thing for them, but Rossview went out, beat them 9-0. They're going out and scoring like 9. They scored 11 goals in one game. We beat a team 11-3 in one game. So the Rossview girls soccer team, I know Clarksville High is going to get obviously a lot of headlines, winning the last 10 district championships. West Creek definitely getting headlines by being a very much improved team, but Rossview is right there. I think that's going to be a really fun district to watch.
It's an interesting three-headed race right now, I think. But, let's keep it with girls soccer. Last night, Monday night, I headed over to Hume Fogg to watch a little bit of White House Heritage girls soccer. Slow start right now for the Patriots. They're 0-2 in their first 2 games. But here's an interesting stat for you, Brady. The last 4 years, White House Heritage has had a losing record in its first 5 games. The last 4 years, they've ended up with a winning record by the end of the season. Leave it to tough scheduling. Leave it to players figuring things out. I don't quite know what it is, but White House Heritage seems to figure this out as the season goes along. And if they're going to figure it out this year, it's going to come from Macy Gardner, last year's District 9 AA Defender of the Year, who's now being moved to an attacking midfield position, something she's not used to whatsoever. But it's shown success so far. I mean, she kind of contributed to a goal against Hume Fogg. She scored a goal against Hillsborough and had a hat trick in the preseason against East Robertson. So pretty interesting team this year. We'll see if they can turn it around this early in the year.
Yeah, you said in your story, it was interesting hearing her perspective on that, saying that as a defender, she knows what works against defenders, and she's able to always watch the field and see what works against other defenders. So now she's kind of using that knowledge to score goals herself, and it seems to be going well so far for her.
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting. You look at last night's game against Hume Fogg, and Hume Fogg's got an incredible scorer in Sylvia Shuri. She scored all 4 goals for the Knights, and she's just been an incredible scorer for the past 2 years for that program. And, Gardner played a little bit of defense in that game as well. So it just makes you wonder how many tips and tricks you kind of pick up during games when you're defending somebody and how you apply that to becoming an attacking player.
Absolutely. So for my one thing on the football field, I'm looking at the Northwest football team. Last season, they started the year against Stewart County with a 35-0 loss. This season, they started the season against Stewart County with a 36-0 win. So crazy turnaround there for Northwest. Obviously, there could be factors involved, like Stewart County just might not be as good this year. But, I mean, you got to imagine that feels awesome for Ronaldo Pena's team. The guys that he has coming back. He spoke highly of their group this year, especially some of their senior leadership that they got coming back. And I mean, just that week one, that difference between seasons, I mean, that's really impressive, especially for a Northwest football team that has struggled for the past several years.
Well, 2 things I kind of take away from that. I looked at your pick'em, and of course I kind of looked it over last week. When I saw that you had Stewart County beating Northwest, I was tempted to text you. I said, I don't know, Brady. I've got a feeling about Northwest here, not just because you've kind of mentioned that they are improved, but Stewart County lost its quarterback in Will Page. I mean, the guy was a 3-sport stud. If you had never heard of him, I mean, it's given because most people don't know where Dover is. But the kid was a great player. I think he's at the University of the Cumberlands now, but a really solid player for them over the past couple of years. But another thing on top of that, I'm going to jog your memory. Did Northwest shut anyone out last year?
No, I don't believe they did. I got their schedule up here, but off the top of my head, no, they did not. Their only win was against Whites Creek, I believe 1A or 2A team. Yeah, 2A team. And they only beat them 27-20. Conversely, they were shut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So to go out and win this week 1 game 35-0, I mean, that's pretty incredible for them.
Talk about a confidence boost.
Absolutely.
Let's keep on the football field. Thursday night's game. We've got a nice double header here Thursday and Friday in Robertson County, starting off with White House and Greenbrier on Thursday. Both teams lost in week 1, in case you missed it. Springfield waxed Greenbrier once again, 35-0. White House got off to a strong start against Station Camp, but couldn't last. It was 27-6, the final. So you've got a good shot of redemption for both squads to get on the right foot. Me personally, I suspect a big game from Greenbrier. The Bobcats probably have a little bit more returning depth than White House. And maybe Nathan Robinson has a big game, but Nolan Carson and Travarius Flood played pretty well against the Jackets. They should keep that going into week 2.
Definitely. Now, I want to look on volleyball for my final one thing here today. So the Kenwood Volleyball team has struggled in the past couple years under head coach Linda Courtney, a very strong-headed, confident person who has absolutely put her heart and soul into coaching this team. She's now the assistant athletic director there. And Kenwood, a team known for wearing black and gold, is wearing blue this year. Now, why would they do that? It's because Courtney, their head coach, is actually dealing with stage 4 colon cancer. Obviously, a very unfortunate situation for her, but she has not been stopped at all. She has already undergone 600 hours of chemo since March. She's going to be coaching games with a chemo tank because you cannot keep her away from her team and her players. I was interviewing 3 of the players after one of the games I went to last week, and I asked them if they think that she'll beat it, and I couldn't even include the quotes because they all just started talking at the same time. So, oh yeah, she's absolutely going to beat it. Yeah, like she's mad she can't even go to the gym right now. Like I couldn't even decipher all the quotes and who was saying them just because they were all just so eager to say that, yeah, she's absolutely 100% beating this. And Linda is absolutely confident in herself too. She said, I'm 100% going to beat cancer. So a really cool story for their volleyball team. It's really cool to see what's going on there. And, I gotta say, I'm confident that she'll beat it too, knowing Linda.
Absolutely. It's a really inspiring story. If you haven't read it on Main Street Preps or Main Street Clarksville, really check it out. Brady did a great job with that. Ending out the week on Friday in football, we've got, as we mentioned earlier, White House Heritage and East Robertson. I would give the edge to East Robertson in this one, kind of similar with White House and Greenbrier. Both teams enter 0-1. But, considering how both games went for either of these teams, East Robertson's got more skill, and it looks like they're a little bit more rounded out right now as opposed to White House Heritage. But there is one thing I will point out to you, Brady, that I'm really interested to see how this kind of shapes out for the rest of the year. White House Heritage's quarterback, running back, and wide receiver are all 5'8" or shorter.
Wow.
3A team with a starting running back, quarterback, and wide receiver under 5'8".
That's small. that's a small team. Yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting thing to watch. Speaking of interesting, let's move over to our game of the week. I'm looking at Montgomery Central versus Northeast, which is actually where I'm going to be on Friday night. Both teams have first-year head coaches who picked up wins last week, but it'll be interesting to see them go against one another because they have very contrasting styles of play. It'll be kind of interesting to see if either of these teams kind of proves themselves to be legit after getting week 1 wins.
Yeah, it looked like Montgomery Central struggled a little bit against Sycamore, and Northeast obviously had their game cut short, so you don't get a full game of action. But, let's continue with a little bit of Montgomery County Robertson crossover. The MyTV30 Rivals Game of the Week is my game of the week where you need to be. You got a long-standing rivalry between Springfield and Clarksville. Clarksville's looking for revenge after losing week 1 against McGavock, and Springfield's riding high after another win against Greenbrier, their 9th in a row. Should be a really fun one. And, if you've got nowhere to be on Friday, you should be at Springfield Clarksville.
Yeah, that should be a great game. A lot of our staff thinks that it's going to be a really close game. We kind of have I don't want to spoil it, but there is kind of a unanimous choice to win, but a lot of people think it could come down to 1 or 2 scores. So that should be a really good game, especially just because that's an old school rivalry. And now rounding out the show, we're going to go to our players of the week. For me, this one is just easy. Now, according to Max Preps, which, that relies on coaches putting in stats themselves usually, or parents. So it might not be entirely there might be players missing from this, but according to Max Preps, Madison Bennett, West Creek soccer player, leads not Montgomery County, not the Mid-State, not Tennessee, but the entire United States in goals so far this season. She has 18 goals in 5 games. I think she had 19 last year, and she was my player of the year by doing that. 18 goals, 5 games. I mean, Come on. That's just incredible.
Absolutely. It's not something, I mean, if I were to hear somebody leading the country in goals in Clarksville, you'd say, I'd pick 3 or 4 other schools before someone from West Creek, but that's just credit to that program and credit to Madison Bennett for really just upping her game and starting off really strong.
Absolutely.
Last thing we got here, my player of the week. If you haven't heard his name yet, get ready to hear him all season long. Kamarian Flair of Springfield High School, no longer just basketball standout, as head coach Dustin Wilson points out. In his first high school game, Flair recorded 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, and a 56-yard receiving touchdown. Just absolutely incredible stuff from, his very first game. But, it's a 6'3", 6'4" frame that really makes all the difference.
Yeah, talk about doing it all. I mean, like you said, no longer just a basketball player, because this is a guy that opposing basketball teams have had to game plan around for a couple years now. And just to be able to transition to football like that reminds you a little bit of Andrew Page from Beach, who is now playing at Middle Tennessee, a wide receiver there after being a basketball player for so long. So obviously not sure whether the same thing will play out for Kamarian Flair, but kind of shades of that.
Truthfully, that's what I heard. What I came to mind whenever I heard Flair was joining the team. I said to Coach Wilson, this sounds a lot like Andrew Page from last year, but if it pans out for him, he's got the size, he's got the build, he's got the ability to be. I mean, I don't want to say a Division I player yet because he's 1 game in, but he based on that game alone, he's got the skill.
Absolutely, and that's going to do it for this week's edition of the MSP North Podcast. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Of course, thank Chase Brooks and Rob Gallowicz for joining in, and we will see you guys next week.